How would you define Spieth's legacy that he's built up in his career so far?
Legacy and 27th birthday don't really go hand in hand. I think there's plenty more to come, or I hope there is. But really, when you look at Jordan Spieth's career so far, it's summed up in 2015. How good he can be when he is good. How he really almost won the Grand Slam that year, and then capped it off with a nice little FedEx Cup trophy. That's it. It's how popular he is, but how good he can be when he's on. And the putter, Johnny Miller said it, is a weapon. When it's on, man, is it ever. But happy birthday, Jordan.
Tell you what, the boldness and audacity of his victories, holding out at the John Deere, holding out at the Travelers, the big putt to beat Patrick Reed in Tampa. And then you mentioned 2015, second youngest Masters champ behind Tiger. Backs that up with the U.S. Open. It's almost mythical win at the Open in 2017. Jordan Spieth is as tough and gritty and fiery as anyone we've seen, and he's built this legacy at the early part of his career. Think about what Phil had to go through and Sergio had to go through, and most great players, they have to have some pain and some disappointment. Jordan had great success early in his career.
Such great success. I mean, you just mentioned it there, Damon. 2015, the opportunity to complete the Grand Slam at the Open. He came up just short, but now just one major short of the career Grand Slam. I mean, that could put him in one of the most elite groups of players in the history of the game. Just 5 men, as we know, have completed such an achievement in the men's game. Paige, if he makes it into that group, does that put him, do you think, as deservedly one of the greatest players we've ever seen?
Without question, it's a very small table that sits at those that have completed the career Grand Slam. But I really just appreciate that full screen graphic that we saw of all of his notable accomplishments. I feel like the recent, history we've talked about Jordan Spieth has been, the downside of his recent play. But when you look at what he's been able to do already in his career at such a young age, you really start to understand what a special talent he is. And I think Damon made the good point of how he did it. These were huge moments in big tournaments where he was able to make big putts, make hole out bunkers. I mean, not only the John Deere, but at the Travelers in a playoff. That was how he is known. I don't want to say was known because, he's still out there and we might see, those winning ways in the near future. But that's when I think of Jordan Spieth and what his mark on the game has been. It's been incredible drama and big moments.
Huge moments, and he's only just turning 27 today, still so young, but we haven't seen him inside the winner's circle since that 2017 Open Championship win. For someone who achieved so much in their young career, I mean, he's in the history books no matter what. Robert, what do you think the biggest challenge for Spieth is now to return to the winner's circle?
Oh man, after watching the 2017 Open footage, it kind of hits you. He's in really a 3-year slump. That's a long time for a player that's only 27, and that had accomplished so much before. So the biggest challenge for him is kind of erasing the 3 years. The driver's gone bad at times. Even the putter was bad for a while. He's shown signs since this return to playing golf, a post-COVID layoff, of playing really well, but there's only been signs. He hasn't really put it all together. One top 10 at Colonial, but it's erasing the kind of poor memories of the last 3 years when his game does come back. That's going to be his biggest challenge to being the 2015 Jordan Spieth that we all want to see.
Yeah, and I think erasing is probably a difficult even term to use because you can't forget because he's a better, every player that's gone through tough times says, I'm a better player now than I was before because I've learned more shots, I've got more tools in the bag. The longer you're at this game, the better you feel as a player you are. So it's not even just about erasing because you can't really start over. It's about figuring out what was great then that you can apply moving forward. It's a tough go. You've seen a lot of players go through this, and I admire the players that are able to kind of return to great form after going through it because you can't really forget the tough times.
You're right. Erasing or forgetting is not possible. I meant more not drawing on the negative, not thinking about the negative when the game comes back. Wow, is this past 3 years going to be the guy going forward, or the years before that going to be the guy going forward when the game comes back? Because it's not there yet. Small signs, but not there yet.
Paige, how do you deal with the fact that, if you're Jordan Spieth, you might have had the best year of your career at the age of 21. It may not ever get any better than that year, and it probably won't, and that's okay. He has such a high standard for himself. He's so tough on himself. How do you deal with knowing that, it's probably never going to be as good as it was?
That's a great question, Damon. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of, you've got to draw on the positives and say, at least I was there. At least I did accomplish this, and I have this, notch on my belt, and I've got the trophies on the wall. But that's a difficult realization to come to, that you may have played or performed at your best, in your past and not in your future. It makes you question desire levels at a certain point too. And I give, Jordan a lot of credit because I've never questioned his desire level at all through this slump. When you know that the best golf may have been behind you.
Jordan would never take back what he has achieved in a million years. It's been utterly phenomenal and a historic achievement across the board. But where he is now in his career, he's got a good 10, 15, possibly more years ahead of him on the PGA Tour. In a way, Robert, has his success and what he's achieved so far, has it been a hindrance in what he's able to achieve possibly going forward, just because of the level of expectation?
I don't think it's a hindrance in what he thinks and knows he can achieve. The big problem with the success he had early is that if, player X, Y, and Z goes into a slump and are not playing that well, the press leaves them alone. No one questions them about it. They don't have to answer every single week, when are you going to play well? What's going on? He's not player X, Y, Z. He's Jordan Spieth, and he set this bar to where now when he has a bad week, the media still asks, what's wrong here? What's wrong there? What are you working on? When are you going to change something? When is this coming back? All the same questions he has to ask in his own mind, he's got to hear from people like us each week. That's kind of the curse of being as successful as he was, but I don't think he would trade it in if he had the chance.
I think there's also this yearning to go back to being a more natural player. He was such a feel player. And I think somewhere along the way, he became a little bit technical. He's even talked about that. And we've seen him on the range from time to time, hitting a shot, going to the camera, hitting a shot, turning to the camera. I don't see a lot of players at the height of their power when they're comfortable hitting a shot and going to the camera. I think Jordan Spieth is at his best when he's just hitting shots, missing a green and holing out the shot, threading a shot through the trees and not mattering. I just want to see Jordan Spieth be that field player that he was earlier in his career.
Maybe Damon, a good birthday present would be to watch Michael Thompson's speech after the round yesterday, where he said, I lost my way, and it took a lot of trust and going back to the player I knew I was and the player that got here, and not trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And Michael Thompson's one story, but Jordan Spieth, we know what he was and how great he was. So maybe the secret lies in there somewhere.